Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, actually, we had hoped today to address the second leg of one of the topics we dealt with in this week, which was the whole Tiv Jukun crisis. When we had done that, remember we had said that our plan was that we would now take the other side of the story. We heard it from the Jukun side. We'll be taking it from the TV side. So we'll see how that will go. We had arranged it, and someone was to be in our Abuja studio so that we'll be talking about it. We're still waiting for him, but we hope he will show up in due course. And in Lagos here, that's not remote, that's directly face-to-face. Face-to-face fixed odds. Dr. Madili Boyo, well, he's a medical director and public affairs analyst, but it's not about that. It's because, first of all, I wanted to see it from the point of view of the TV. And there are appreciable members of the Tiv ethnic group in Plateau, Taraba, Nasarawa, Abuja, Niger, and in particular Benue. And you have had experience. You've worked, you even speak, if I got it right, the Tiv language.
Yes, somewhat of Tiv. Because I worked there over some years.
Okay.
As a rural health doctor. So I covered nearly every village in Tiv land.
And you
understand the Tiv culture and understand, because I haven't walked and lived in those villages, like going there for rural health. I know the dynamics that have been taking place over the years there. And it's amazing to understand that it's just a microcosm of what the whole Nigeria is all about, even the whole world. Land, politics, indigenship, and things like that. And people are very sensitive when what you call the citizenship factor in Nigeria comes to play. We still continue to ask ourselves tomorrow, who is an indigenous? Who is an indigenous? And who is a settler? When you go to a place and you've stayed in a place for 20, 30 years, and you are the third generation settler in that place, are you still a settler or an indigenous? And there's an interesting thing you may like to know. At the beginning of this century, the Kwara Empire, which is the Jukums in particular, had covered mainly the Benue River, Ibi River, Donga River, and even the parts of River Taraba. Very fertile parts of Nigeria where the Jukums have lived. And the TV people had always lived with the Jukums over the centuries. But, in the Jukum area, like Wukari, for instance, something happened in 1959 during the federal elections when a TV man, one Charles, defeated a Jukum man in an election. And the dynamics began to change. I would call that a defining moment. They found that it's not a matter of who owns the land again, but who is more populous in the land. So the voting patterns began to change since then, and the sensitivity issues now came up. In April this year, like we saw in your last program, the Jukums were said to have raided the Kinke, a border town between Benue and Taraba State, and killed some people. And what used to happen in those cases is that the TV people are numerous and they procreate a lot. They are very large in numbers, and they move. They are highly migratory because of land for farming. And the Benue Trough is the food basket of the country. So they plant yams, rice, name it, and they love to farm. So in the process of farming, they move to fertile areas, because when you are farmed on a piece of land for a long time, you don't get a very good yield anymore. And then you have to move. So the TV they move a lot. And they live in small hamlets because they live within family abodes, like a village of 100, 200 people. If somebody else wants to progress, he moves to start another village. So in the process of moving, they had migrated far into the Jukum territories of Wukari, Ibi, Donga, and Takum. And whenever they get to these territories, what they tend to do is, because they live among themselves, because in these same territories you have Fulanis, you have Hausas, you have the Chambas, and you have the Igbos even as traders in those places. But these other communities tend to mix up with other people and respect themselves as settlers. So when the TV people go there, they tend to stay there, put up a billboard, and name the place. So it's like, just like what we have in Lagos now. If Alaba is now called an Igbo village, Ladipo is called an Igbo. Nobody bothered because these are rural areas, far in the bush. So a thief man goes right into the bush and starts farming there, and his siblings look for him. They come there. They are 20, they become 40, become 50, become 100. They have their native church, the NKST. They start a church there. The church starts a school there. The church starts a hospital there. And this is now outside the local government. So this self-sufficiency keeps them going, because once they can get to a place and the church comes there and the school starts and a hospital comes, a health center, primary health center comes in there, the place begins to develop. And before you know it, it gets a name. I don't get a Jukun name. So the Jukun may have called the place A before. And when we say a place, they will go further than that place and call it maybe A plus or B, and then you have a new town coming up. And before you know it,
There's resentment in
There's
that.
resentment.
There's resentment.
So the basic issue now is 3 points: land, politics. Land, politics. And the politics now leads to power. But this land, politics, number also, the indigenship. So we have a problem with land, politics, and indigenship. You begin to find out what makes a person an indigent of a place. So you have the TVs in Benue, predominantly in Benue, in Taraba, Plateau, fringes of Plateau, and all the way you can even find TV, all the way in Nasarawa State too. Now the problem now is that within those states they are seen as settlers, but they don't see themselves as settlers. Other tribes in those states, like the Igbos, the Yorubas, see themselves as settlers, and they go back home for New Year Festival, they go back home for other things. But the Tiv stay there. They stay there. They get to, there are various things like their churches, everything there. They get a chief there. And before you know it...
In fact, one of the complaints we heard from the last program, complaint or observation, is that the Tivs allegedly were actually moving into, they wanted a chiefdom of their own within Jukun territory, and that naturally is going to sort of cause some strain.
Yeah, the Tiv as a people will not even ask for a chiefdom, because they are Republicans like the Igbos. They don't have what you call chiefs, people, blue blood. Anybody that is successful and famous can aspire to be a chief. And if you are strong enough to lead people, you are made a chief. And at the end of the day, they look at your background, be sure you have what you call a clean background, and you are very well, you are educated or things like that. You are a mighty warrior, a mighty farmer, you are made a chief. And they won't even recourse to asking you to make them chief, because they make you among themselves chiefs. So at the end of the day, the problem they will have really is getting that chief recognized by the State Council of Chiefs or recognized by a local government chairman, because a local government chairman will likely be a Jukun man. Now, when it comes to politics is a game of numbers, not a game of who owns the land. It's a game of numbers. If you remember what happened in Lagos in the last elections, it's a game of numbers. Now, when elections come, and in Nigeria, you don't vote because you're an indigent of a place. You vote because you have a voter's card. You can have a voter's card and vote. Once you are a Nigerian, you have a right to vote. But does the voter's card confer on you indigenship? No.
And is that a friction point?
Yeah, that's a friction point. Because at the end of the day, look at Lagos, for instance, now. During the last elections, I remember at the 2015 election, people started going around saying, some strangers in Lagos don't want to vote for the party of the people of the indigenous and things like that. So what we have is that by the time the number of two people in a place reach like 200, 300 people, they have their own market. And they're very industrious. Whereas the Jukuns live in towns, they have big towns, and they go into education, they go into several other things. There's similarity, but no similarity in terms of language, but similarity in terms of culture. They are mainly predominantly Christians among the Jukuns and the Tiv, but you have pockets of Muslims there. But at the end of the day, when this thing comes to the nitty-gritty of it all, it's about land. Now, the Jukuns don't use the land as much as the Tiv. So the Tiv could farm over 50 kilometers. And the Jukuns are in the town. when it comes to voting, these people will affect the elections by virtue of their numbers. They will affect the elections, and they want to contest too. Whereas in those communities where you have the Igbos, Yorubas, and other Nigerians who are not TV or who are not Jukums, they likely just go and vote for the son of the soil. They don't put themselves up to vote because they just went there to trade. And at Christmas, they go back to their villages. At New Year, they go back to their homes in Lagos, Bomosho, or Ibola. They go there. But the TV people stay there and do everything there. And their children now go to school in that local government area, and they now claim to be indigenous. And that's where the problem is. So land, politics, and indigenous. Until we look at the constitutional situation about who is an indigene. Now, when you're coming to Lagos, you see a small write-up on the side of Lagos, Ile Yoruba Leko, or something of that sort. And they are reminding you that Lagos is Yoruba land. But you find that people have stayed there also through 4 or 5 generations. They have built houses there, they have stayed there. Are they Lagosians? That's the question. Are they Lagosians? Are they indigenes of Lagos, or they are settlers? So this settler-indigene syndrome is the key, the kernel of the problem in the Tiv Jukun. And there's no way the Jukums, if you look at Wukari now, the Wukari the districts, you look at the wards that belong to the Jukums, almost just 1/3 of the wards that belong to the TV people. Because they establish villages, keep on establishing villages, and they are growing in number. They're growing in number. And what is the reason? 3 major rivers, the river Taraba, the river Dunga, the river Ibi, and the mother of all rivers, the river Benue, which of course comes all the way from the river Gongola, have watered the basin and made the place very fertile. And people want to farm. So but in America or most other developed countries, you can farm in a place, you can vote there, and you can live there. But in Nigeria, one has children, indigenous of the place, to be local government chairman. And so you still have the same problem. The Jukuns, don't forget the Jukuns and the Tiv in the politics of the North, they are minorities. And they complain of domination by the Hausa Fulani people. But when you come back to the local government level, the same people who believe they are being marginalized in the bigger sector called Nigeria begin to marginalize themselves. And that's why these 3 issues of land, indigenship, and of course, politics comes in.
Okay. One of the things that we touched on the last time we talked about this subject, the Tiv Jukun crisis, it was Jukuns that were in the studio, so they were telling it from their point of view, and so we had to get it from the TV point of view as well. And people calling in from home, they noticed that, look, maybe trading blame forever might not really, because each party will naturally narrate the story from their own perspective. I think both parties actually feel that they are right. And so one of the questions we posed at the time was, what can be done really to resolve the situation? We've heard that there have been examinations of how to set up regulations, how to set up bodies. But again, one of the other things that came out was that how far down the line does this go? It's all right for people, elites, to meet and agree that maybe we should go this way, maybe we should try this, but the people that will actually be executing it might not be privy to those meetings, I might not understand it, I think by now, quite frankly, distrust might have set in. As you know, even President Buhari has been, blamed for not coming in strongly enough into the matter. But
incidentally, if I may comment, distrust had already set in because the 2 governors were out of the country when that's Ishaka and Otom have been out of the country on holidays in Europe or America when these things took place. And the defense, the special advisor on security in Benue State went to Wukari to sort out the issues. And of course, the youths, the TV youths had kidnapped somebody and they had to go in and really, so at the end of the day, the elites were meeting to discuss it, but the youths themselves are not carried along. Because the basic thing, look at the story of Kente. What happened in Kente? Kente was that the TV youths said the TV women should not go to market on market day and sell their goods. And so the Kente market was not well patronized because the yams and the things that TV used to bring were not brought in. And then there was an uprising. The same thing too about the university problem in Ukari University in July. That Kenkete was in April. In July, they said a lecturer and 2 Tiv students were killed. It wasn't the elites that do this, but people believe that the elites used the youths and the youths to fight their causes. But I would say this, that we must go back to this indigenship because these 2 tribes agree, it's not a matter of argument, they agree that they migrated to the Benue Basin. Then they came from Cameroon, from migration over centuries. I'm not saying they're not Nigerians. The TV people believe that TV language is a Bantu sub-language, and they came all the way from Central Africa, Congo, or South Africa. And the Jukuns believe they came from Chad, while some believe they came from Egypt. Everybody migrated to the Benue Basin.
Everybody has his own story.
Yes. No, but these stories are accepted by both parties. None of them ever claim to have suddenly come up from there. They all migrated there.
But probably each side sees the other as, maybe not playing square, if fair.
Yes, they will see it that way because the federal government has divided local government based on also what you may call tribes and majority. They have given Ukari, for instance, is said to be a Jukun empire. It has always been that. Ukari, Takum, Dunga. They've always been Jukun empire. But the problem is, if let's use Lagos for instance, if a tribe comes to Lagos over many years and becomes larger in number than the what you may call the original, if there's anything like that, original Lagosians, whether they be Jebus or whoever they are, I've been in Lagos. The tribes that have settled in Lagos over many decades or centuries become more than the indigenes of Lagos. Should they produce the local government chairman? Yes, they will by election. But would they produce the Oba? No, they won't, because the Oba is a traditional stool. The Jukuns, the TVs are not contesting who is the Oba of Ukari, who is the king of Ukari. It's a Jukun. But when the policies comes out in terms of local government, and it's a local government that provides amenities and determines who gets what. It's not a traditional stool.
Okay.
So a local government will determine schools, will determine university, secondary schools, primary schools, health centers. And these local governments want to be controlled by the indigenes. But local governments are controlled by elections.
Okay, maybe we'll get another angle to this because our guest in Abuja, David Obi Uchiv, I understand is in place now. Mr. Uchiv is actually an opinion leader in the state, and he's quite familiar because he's been in the political and administrative setup of the place. He was special advisor going back to 1992. He was special advisor to Governor Ayami. Also was DG Political Affairs in the Cabinet Office. He was also DG Education. So he's also served as a special advisor under Jolly Name, his second coming, and indeed Dambaba Suntai, Suntai's administration. Mr. Uchiv, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Uchiv.
Okay, good morning. You heard where we sort of, left it. Could you shed a bit more light on, principally, how to get out of this log jam, where people have said that, we could stay here for the next 3 days listening to representations from both sides. But what everybody wants is peace. Any ideas, please, based on your experience? You're an opinion leader in there. You know the terrain very, very well.
Thank you very much for that question. I did not start listening to the analyst in Lagos from the beginning, but when I met him, he was trying to explain what has led to crisis, incessant crisis in the Ukari area. Your question is, how can we come out of the logjam?
Yes.
Definitely, before you provide a solution to an issue, you must understand it perfectly well for you to apply the solution correctly for you to get out of the logjam or the problem you are facing. The problem within that region is historical. And basically, it needs a political solution to be applied to it. And both the National Assembly and the state government must play roles that will bring the issues that are reoccurring in the areas that are bringing about the crisis to an end. And what do I mean by that? Just like the analysts in Lagos did mention, what we have in the political arena of this country is an issue of winner takes all. And then unfortunately, the actors are not given the opportunity to play the games according to the rules equally. Others normally have advantage over others, especially in our area. And that brings us to the question of why such things happened. They happen simply because, just like he said, our Jukun brothers labeling us as settlers. I'm happy he did mention clearly that we all migrated to that area. And there is no known history between the two of us as to whether the Tiv conquered the Jukun or the Jukun conquered the Tiv. But the systematic recording of historical events in the region at the advent of colonial administration clearly shows that the Jukun met the Tiv there. But because the colonial administration had a policy, they were always looking out for centralized system of administration to bring the natives under control. They found it very handy in the Jukun style of administration. You know, the Tiv, as an egalitarian society, were stateless in nature. They were concerned about equal rights and democracy. Decisions were taken involving all. But whereby aristocratic system of administration were institutionalized, it was different, like the case in Ukari. So when the British came and discovered that they had found in the Jukun an organized system of administration, they found it very handy to bring other, especially like the Tiv, that were found in the region under the control of the Aku. And they made sincere efforts in trying to subject the Tiv under the Aku administration. It was resisted just like in any normal situation. The Tiv resisted that they wouldn't be brought under any system of administration.
Okay.
But if we go back to history, the colonial administration now tried to identify specific areas of influence for each of the groups. In their attempts, if you look at the history, several efforts were made by bringing the Tiv under different system of administration. Before 1900, the Tiv, some part of Tiv were ruled from Ogoja, some from Nasarawa, later some from Ukari. And then when Benue province was created, some were now brought to be ruled. From Ogoja was exercised and merged, and they were all from Kasinale, they were ruled from Ukari under the Aku leadership. And from there, by 1914, at the amalgamation of Northern and Southern Protectorate, when provinces were created, Benue province was created. In all these attempts, colonial administrators wanted to create a clear demarcating line between the Tiv and the Jukun, something which they found it very, very impossible to do. Because by 1830 or thereabout, Samuel J. Crowder and Dr. Becky on exhibition up the River Benue wanted to establish the borderline between the Jukuns and the Tiv. And they met this man at Ibi. Their informant was a Jukun man. And they asked him where was the borderline between the Jukun and the Tiv. And then the man inserted his hands like, say, look, this is how the Tiv and the Jukun are. You cannot separate them. And you cannot clearly draw a line demarcating the two. That was the position then. And then by 1917 or thereabout, some colonial administrators like Fremantle, because they wanted to preserve the Jukun aristocratic system, wanted to create an area of influence for the Jukuns. In so doing, they wanted to bring all the Tiv under the control of the Jukun, something which they found it very difficult to do. But they did not relent. By 1922-23, a border line was then drawn from Anyebe, the present Anyebe, at the river bank of Benue, up to Kashimbila and Cameroon. That line, up to the present time, is used as the line demarcating the Tiv from the Jukun, according to the colonial administration. But then something interesting happened. When the colonial administrators now took the census of the people they wanted to constitute what was then known as Ukari Federation, because they discovered it was not only the Jukun, there were so many other federating nationalities within Ukari, and they named it a federation. And they discovered that 10 Tiv clans, whether knowingly or unknowingly, were exercised using that border line they drew, were put on the Taraba Ukari side. That line is what is used now, and it was used during the Benue Plateau State, and it is now the line that is used as a border line between Taraba and Benue. One interesting fact you will also notice that the Tiv that were exercised, or this line arbitrarily cut them into two, these clans were found on both sides. And that was not only peculiar to the Tiv in that region, it's found elsewhere. In Taraba State, we have so many of such examples. If you go to Gombe, there are Wurkums that are exercised in Taraba, some are in Gombe, some are in Taraba. If you go to the same Taraba, Mumiyes are found in Zing, in Taraba, and they are found in Mayobela and other Genyi in Adamawa State. If you go to even take international border lines like the Cameroon on the Mambila Plateau, Sadauna local government, some of the ethnic groups that are found in Taraba State are also on the other side of the divide of Cameroon, using the 1961 plebiscite or thereabout. But then the case of Ukari is different, because the colonial administration wanted to bring the Tiv people under the control of the Jukuns, to subject them so that they will be able to administer them using the aristocratic system of the Jukuns. They did not take into cognizance the cultural diversity of the Tiv people, something which up to now is the problem. Though they did something which they recognized the 10 Tiv clans that were exercised and put on the Ukari side. And in order to subject them properly under Aku rulership, they were given ward headship. In the traditional structure of Ukari or any traditional institution in the north, you have the ward heads, you have the district heads, you have the third class, second class, first class, as the case may be. And the Tiv were now given, the 10 clans were now given wardship status by the colonial administration since 1922. As I talk to you, the 10 clans are still under that wardship. They have not moved beyond that ward. What am I saying? The Taraba State government or Ukari local government has created, as I talk to you now, 16 chiefdoms, third-class chiefs, in Ukari alone. And they are making attempts to upgrade others to district level. The Tiv ward heads that were directly under the 4 districts of the then Ukari are still ward heads. They've not been moved to the next level.
Okay, okay.
So,
how does this factor into what we heard on the last program, which was that the Jukuns are pushing for a chiefdom, I beg your pardon, the Tivis are pushing for a chiefdom within areas that the Jukuns regard as their preserves, and that they weren't going to stand for this. What do you make of that notion?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was moving towards that, but since you asked the question, I will not go straight to the question, answer you. The colonial administrators that drew that arbitrary line, and 10 clans of the Tiv extraction were found on the Ukari side, made them ward heads. It therefore means any traditional administrative reorganization in the area must take into cognizance the presence of the Tiv people and accordingly elevate them to the next status. Let me give you an example. We had 4 districts in the then Okari division under the headship of Aku, with other ward heads of Jukun extractions and 10 ward heads of Tiv extractions. These ward heads of Jukun extraction were elevated to district level as district heads, leaving the Tiv 10 ward heads. There were about 16 districts were created in the then Okari. In the last dispensation of the present administration, the 16 ward districts were elevated to third-class chiefs. The Tiv people are still on the ward headship. You can see the injustice. What we are saying is, before you are asked or you are appointed as a ward head, you must have an area of influence. You must have an area of jurisdiction. You must have your subject. These 10 clans have their subjects. So if there were only 4 district heads of the Jukuns by then, and then later they were all elevated to 16 district heads, and now 16 third-class chiefs. What do you make of it? Ordinarily, and fair play demands that the Tiv both head should be upgraded. They would have been made even third-class chief or district heads, as the case may be, because definitely they occupy an area with their subjects.
Okay.
So that is what we are saying. We are not saying because we have found ourselves in Ukari due to acts of colonialism, then we cannot grow.
Okay.
Traditionally.
Can I, Mr. Chief, we're going to take a break now, but please stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at the second leg of our story that we started earlier this week. At that time, we took it from the point of view of the Jukuns. Now we have, as it were, a representative of the Tivs. He's a Tiv himself, Mr. David Obi Uchiv, who is quite conversant with the lie of the ground, up there. And he's been very, very clear. Our man in Lagos, Dr. Boyo, Amadili Boyo, who's with me in the studio in Lagos, you also heard Mr. Uchiv there. Would you give me a few comments, because I feel it was fairly balanced?
Yes, it was quite balanced, and of course we were trying to hear the Tiv side of the story, so quite balanced. And I give it to him. He did a good job, but we also have to understand that the problem still lies on the 3 things I said: land, power and indigenship. Who is a settler? And as long as the Jukums see their Tiv brother, like you said, they're like this, and that's true. That's what the archaeologists say. They're like this, not because they have similar language or culture, but due to intermarriage and haven't interrelated over many centuries. They have become very close. But the average Jukun man sees a Tiv man as a Benue man who has come to trade or farm. Now he's talking about the line drawn. Like we said at the beginning of this program, the man on the street doesn't know that line. All the man on the street knows is that there's a kingdom called the Ukare Kingdom, ruled by the Aku. That's the king of Ukare, like you have the Oba of Lagos or the Awujale of Ijebuland. You have the Aku as the king of Ukare. And the Jukums are not just in Ukare. They're in Takum, they're in Donga, they're in Ibi. And, but you see, when you get to Tiv land in Benue State, there are settlers there too. There are substantial number of Igbos in Kasinala, Zakibiam trading there. Those Igbos don't go there to want the chiefdom. They go there to trade, and they see themselves as indigenes of Anambra or Imo State, but they can vote for you as a son of the soil. But the problem, listen, I'm not talking as, and I'm telling you how the Jukun people are saying it, so that our honorable Tiv man in the studio there, who has given us profound lecture on it, can also see the pain of the Jukums. The Jukums see the Tiv people as settlers. And the Tiv people don't stay in one place. That's a problem. And that is known by every Tiv man. They're wonderful people, but because of famine, and they procreate. And so they move a lot. So if you even tell a Tiv man to stay in Lagos, he will farm in Ibadan, he will farm in Oyo, he will farm in Ilorin. And wherever the Tiv man farms, his wives and children stay there, because the Tiv man is very, very egalitarian. He doesn't need a king. He is a king to himself. His children, they live in families and respect their elders. So his children, his wife, and people live there in Ilorin from Lagos, where he's supposed to have been. He goes to Ilorin, starts farming, and can farm over 200 miles. Rice, yam, cassava, and everything. Brings in the church, the NKST, or the Roman Catholic Church. Brings in the school, not with government. Brings in the hospital, not with government. So the Jukun man sees him as that man that is there. He's doing well. He's bringing his people there. Before you know it, the church has built schools. The church has built hospitals. And they speak only Tiv in the church. The Jukun man goes to the Church of Christ in central Nigeria and the Catholics, and they see the Tiv man as a settler. Who is an indigene remains a problem here. Now, number two, Nigeria is a republic. All the stuff of ward heads, district heads, they are not in the constitution. What we have are State House of Assembly reps, House of Assembly members, local government councillors, and ward councillors and local government supervisors and chairmen. Now, those are elective posts. District heads, ward heads, third-class chiefs, they are appointed by traditional methods. And so what we are having now is he wants the TV people to move on from being ward chiefs. Now, that's very threatening to the Jukun man, and that doesn't mean the Jukun man is right. That's threatening to the Jukun man. This is our land. But he has made it very clear that there's a line, that the TV people have always been there. The Jukun man will not agree with you that the TV people were there before them, like every other part of Nigeria. People were always there before somebody else.
And that's the point that Mr. Uchiv made.
Yeah, he agreed with that. So land, power, and indigenship. And I know you will agree with me that an Igbo man cannot be an indigene of Benue State. An Igbo man cannot become an Obi of a town in Benue State. They will fight it. Are you understanding me? So there are Igbo settlers, like you mentioned Ogoja, for instance. Vandekia is a TV town, just some miles from Ogoja. But the Ogojas don't see the TV people as part of Ogoja. Now, within Cross River State, the fringes of Cross River State with Benue State, there are TV people farming there. When they start the crisis again, it's about land. You have come to farm, we've allowed you to farm in the whole of this area. Then you have your wife, you have your children, your brothers come, they continue to farm. Before we know it, you have a chief among yourselves. And before we know it, you have done, we call it maybe you have K2, for instance, in Lagos, and you have Magodo here. And before you know it, Magodo wants to be a local government on its own. Then the people will say, no, you came to farm here. And they say, why? That's how the Jukun sees. And with all due respect to him, I'm not a Jukun, I'm not a chief, I'm just somebody who understands the dynamics of the area, and I'm only trying to give give my penny worth of opinion.
Mr. Uchief,
Yeah.
how do you see this? Because the question that you had said very rightly that we have to first of all sort of understand the lie of the ground before we can begin to proffer solutions. And this problem appears to be intractable. Lives are being lost, most would say needlessly. There's violence in the place. Everybody wants peace. Why do you think it is eluding us? Because this is not something that started yesterday.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Can I hear you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying that now that you've helped us out by giving us, a brief summary of, quite frankly, the lie of the ground, political ground, the question that we wanted you to address was, what are your suggestions for
Amicable resolution.
an amicable resolution satisfactory to all parties so that the killings can stop? Presidents have continually been involved in this matter. We haven't got a resolution. Only recently a university was just reopened there. Give us your ideas on what you see as a stakeholder as perhaps the best way, the most effective way in our quest for peace.
Thank you very much. Before I answer you, I would like to briefly comment on what my colleague in Lagos, the analyst, did say.
Dr. Boyo.
Please, Dr. Goyo. Dr. Goyo should try to know the difference between somebody who has gone out to look for a fertile land to farm, to trade, or to do any other business, and somebody that is an indigene of a place, somebody that did not know from the beginning how he found himself there. I was born and found myself in Ukari. My great-grandparents found myself in Ukari. They did not tell me that we migrated from somewhere. So the example he's giving of somebody going to Jebu, a Tiv man going to farm in Calabar, Cross River, is not tenable. An Igbo man can stay in Kano and pursue his legitimate business, provided there's peace. In this case, we are talking of people that are indigenous to the place, and they've been denied that opportunity. That is the aspect we want the whole nation to look at. Until you get that right, you cannot provide any tenable solution to the issue. But let me try to tell you something.
Who met who? Who met who?
I am saying the Jukun met us in the place.
Okay.
There are historical records, and I've told you clearly, the systematic or historical recording or events in the region started between 1800 to 1900. Advent of colonial administration. And then if you look at if you go back to history, I'm not a good student of history, but if you go back to history, the Jukun claimed they attacked Kano in the 16th century and the 16th something, and then they founded President Ukari in 1840. So we don't know whether they were attacking Kano from their base Ukari, but which is not so. Because by 1840, the Tiv were already settled in Ukari. In fact, account written by one of their own, a chamberman, one Gara, a chief in Donga, gave account of when they came to that place in 1870-something, they met the Tiv people there. This is not a Tiv man writing. The records are there for anybody to dispute. So we did not migrate to that place to meet the Jukun. No. The colonial documentation of events did not tell us that yes, the Tiv people met Jukun. No. And I told you clearly that when they met a Jukun informant at Ibi and asked him the line demarcating the border line between Tiv and Jukun, he said, look, we are like this. You cannot separate us. We don't know the border line. It means if there was anything at all, the Jukun and Tiv fought alongside the same side against other intruders. You see, but then the question you are asking, which is the way out? I want to also just give you a brief history so that you know that we have had peace in that region. The problem, just like Dr. Goyo said, is political and needs a political solution. And let me just give you an example. Whether you like it or not, the 1937, 46, and thereabout censuses that were conducted by colonial administration put the population of the Tiv people at over 38 to 40%. The Kute people were about 19,000. The Jukun were just 10,000 people. And then other groups like the Hausas were 34,000. Now, if there was no epidemic that came and wiped out the Tiv, you should expect that the population will be increasing. You should expect that the Jukun too, they will not be at that 10,000, they should also be increasing. But then, it can't be a geometric expression that they will win election without the Tiv votes. Let me tell you what happened. By 1959 general election, why I tell you that the problem is political. 1959 general election, a Tiv man contested against a Jukun man. I won convincingly with over 14,000 votes. The Jukun man had less than 7,000, the other person had about 2,000. Although not only the Tiv voted for the Tiv man, other groups also voted, but you see, if the Tiv constituted more than 40%, they needed no votes of any other group to win that election, but they won. And we cannot say that people did not vote for us. They voted for the Tiv candidate. So by 1964 general election again, that was when the crisis started. The Jukun felt that the Tiv people were taking undue advantage because of their numerical strength to win election, and they devised ways to evict or drive the Tiv out of Okari local government. And that is why we hear about the crisis of 1964. And during the conduct of that elections, a Jukun man was declared as the winner of that election. There were litigations that were filed at the election tribunal in Makurdi until the military took over in 1966. By 1979 general election, the Tiv and the Jukuns, I want to tell you why it is possible for the Tiv and Jukun to live together now. Listen to me. By 1979, the Tiv and Jukun worked together in the then MPN. The Jukun produced the senator. The Jukun produced the House of Representatives. The Tiv produced 2 houses of assembly members in Gongola. And then the House of Fulani produced 2 houses of assembly. We have never, in that part of the country, enjoyed peace like that time. Because we all belong to the same political party, offices were shared, and we used our numerical advantage to give our Jukun brothers our votes. They used whatever vote they have to also vote for us. And there was peace. From 1979 to 1983, the military took over. We have never enjoyed peace like that in that region. After that, we started having a problem when Babangida now wanted to introduce non-party election on non-party basis.
Zero party.
The Jukun felt again that allowing the Tiv to contest election, they will win. And then crisis started. Although the election was conducted in alliance with the House of Fulani, we won that election convincingly. The Hausa man was given chairmanship, Tiv vice chairman, and Tiv produced 4 councillors, and Hausa produced, Jukun also produced councillors. By 1992, that was the beginning of 1990, the 2 political parties that were formed by Babangida, that was the beginning of the problem again. This time around, the Jukun came out clearly and said, no more would they tolerate a settler, a stranger, as they call us, that is the Tiv and the House of Fulani, to occupy any elected position in that area. And that marks the beginning of crisis in Okari up to date. And this always is a recurring issue. Each time elections are to be held, and also after election. This time around, it was very, very clear. During the electioneering campaign, we were told in clear terms that whether we like it or not, after this election, the Tiv people are going to be evicted out of Okari. We thought it was a joke. Immediately after the election, what Dr. Goye was saying, started between a Tiv man and a Jukun man in Kente, that the Tiv said their women should not go to the market. Yes, I agree. The Tiv people say their women should not go to the market because they were being maltreated as slaves. It happened in Donga. For 3 months, the Tiv people said, we will not go to that market. And what did the Gara do? Gara called the Tiv people and said, look, come, what is happening? They told the Gara, may his soul rest in peace. There are grievances. And he said, look, you are doing injustice to these people. Allow them. Let them live. And go there. Before this advent of this crisis, Donga became a flourishing market again. But that of Kente, because it was planned, it was arranged, it was premeditated that we were going to evict the Tiv outside Okari. The crisis started on the 1st of April. My brother, on the 1st of April, that very 1st of April in the evening, the Tiv boys in Okari town that were operating Okada, 4 of them were killed that evening. Kente is 45 kilometers away from Okari. Why such widespread of crisis. 45 kilometers, something happened in Kente. They did not even know what was happening. And then the boys in Okari were killed and motorcycles snatched away from them. By 2nd April, the thing spread like wildfire. Systematic arson, that is burning, looting took place. The two people just wake up and say, what is happening? Most of them were confused. Most of them ran out of their houses naked. Most of them were on their farms planting yams, seed yams. You see? So what is happening there is political. If only our brothers will accept that, look, we have been here with you. We met you here, or whatever they want, however they want to put it. But then we have to coexist. I tell you, my brother, there will be no problem within that region. But, you know, in Nigerian body politics, it's an issue of winner takes all. And once they get it all, they will not want any other person to have it. And that is why they've been trying to maintain that trend, so that a thief man should not be anything. But adventure, they win any election, there will be something. They will be recognized, because as of now, when we talk, we make reference to elections of 1959 and 79, and the councillorship election that we won. We had won several elections in that part of the country.
But
until they realized that they would have to plan against us.
Mr. Chief, has trust completely broken down such that the governors are reported to be working round the clock to sort of mediate in this whole matter? Is a lack of what? Is there this mutual suspicion? Is it going to thwart this whole effort?
No, it won't. The chiefs are coming to the negotiation table to resolving this crisis with demands. They're not just coming empty-handed. They are saying, look, our Jukun brothers, we are human beings as you are. But as long as you are denying us that fundamental rights, I tell you, all these problems always start from Okari. Okari has been the problem all these years. Okay. The problems only spill over to Takum Donga, as the case may be now. Even when they don't want to be involved. But then, it also has to do with the powers or the willpower of the chief executive of the state. And I want to correct one impression, sir. Please get it very clear. The Tiv people of Benue State have nothing to do with this crisis. It is a crisis of the Tiv of Taraba and the Jukun of Taraba. In fact, sometimes when the Tiv people of Benue State are involved, they don't even know what is happening. We have to tell them that this is what we are facing. So we are on ground, we know our problems, and we can sort it out with our Jukun brothers, if only they are willing and ready to tolerate and say, look, we just have to coexist as a people together. All
right then. You know, I want to thank you very much, Mr. Obi Uchief. I want to thank you very much for, in fact, the scholarly way in which you have stated all of this, so one has a better appreciation of it. Thank you very much for coming on our program.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay then. Now we're going to make allowance to see if we can get one or two phone calls, because this is where we were the last time. Well, it's an interesting, it's virtual scholarly, a presentation of the affairs, but clearly he's set out the grievance of the TVs.
Yes, and like I said before, back to the issues of who is a resident, who is an indigenous, who is a settler, and what does the Constitution say? If I stay in a place for so long, do I become a part of the place? Yes, you should be. And this time it took us back to the political angle, not just war and first class, third class chiefs, but it talked about House of Assembly, State, House of Reps, and things like that. So those are very, very good. But we still come back to the same thing now. The Jukum's City TV, even though he said it was my own personal opinion, but the truth is that the Jukum City TV are settlers.
Okay.
Until the settler issue is resolved, we will still be fighting.
Garba in Makurdi, Benue State, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Guests there over there.
Yes.
Actually, you see, last week, when you bring the guests of Jukun and make contribution there, you see, Uncle Yori, what the speaker said, both of them, they are right, absolutely. Sometimes the crisis, Makudi here, something will be happening there. We will carry, but the team man in Makudi, Benue said, no, nothing. And to be honest with you, we have these indigenous. I'm saying this with all sense of humility. I have been in this state for over years, decades. There's indigenous people in Wukari. I know Wukari very well. I even live in Wukari. Aside from Wukari, go to Away local government in Nasarawa State. They are there that army. They are indigenous. Nobody can inject them or beat them out of there. But the only thing that I want the federal government to address is the issue of settler, indigenous, and settler. That is giving us problem in Nigeria. Seriously, honestly. If you look at all what is going on, it's the issue of indigenous. Whereas me, I tell you this, I grown up in that Azi, and within that Azi, I know people that are living in that place, they are indigenous there. Nobody can evict them out of there. And neither the Jukun or not Tigma. The same thing in Nasarawa State.
Okay.
Go and find out and see. In a way, they are even chief there. That's why they're having chief there. You had leaders, you see, Tiv and other tribes are having issues in Nasarawa State in a way local government. Because they had their chief done and they give them that political will to contest and be elected in a political office. Have a nice day, Lagos.
Thank you very much for calling in.
So we can
Taraba.
say again, we're
Yes.
back to ethnicity, tribalism, and things like that.
Indeed.
If we're going to choose people, not based on where they are from, but who they are, we'll not be having all this. As your numbers increase, you pick your own people. You can have, and that's what you have in America. It's still a problem in developed countries.
Well, we've run out of time,
Yes.
but in fact, I don't know. This is going to be a bit more confusing in the sense that we started off with the case from the point of view of the Jukun, and now we've heard it from the point of view of the Tiv. And we see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done and is being done.
Maybe we need to look at the Sovereign National Conference. We need to look at Nigeria. No. It
I hear
cuts
you.
across the whole country.
I hear you.
It cuts across the whole. There are Yorubas from Womosho and Jos. They were everywhere. This Nigeria belongs to everybody. And there are no settlers. Until we resolve that issue, there are no settlers in Nigeria.
Okay,
well, if you're a Nigerian, you're a Nigerian.
Okay, we've completely run out of time, and so I want to thank you, especially Dr. Omadili Boyo. Fortunately for us in your career, as a medical doctor, you've traveled far and wide in this country, and you're able to give us the benefit of your understanding as an outsider, balanced as possible, of the situation over there. I want to thank Mr. David Obi Ochiv as well, an opinion leader and a player. He's been in government. He's been special advisor to Governor Yame going back to 92. He's been DG in the place of education. He's been DG political affairs within the cabinet office. And he's also served as a special advisor to Governor Jolly Nyako. So that shows that, he knows the terrain itself. So, again, we thank you for coming on the program. That's our program today. Please join us on Monday when we come with a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Have a great weekend.